Continue with The Power of Now, a guide to spiritual enlightenment. We're going to start again with The Power of Now on page 72, which is chapter 4 on the mind strategies for avoiding the now. So, that knowing its presence, even if initially it only lasts for a couple of seconds of clock time before it is lost again, then, with increasing frequency, you choose to have the focus of your consciousness in the present moment rather than in the past or future.
Right.
And whenever you realize that you had lost the now, you are able to stay in it not just for a couple of seconds,
Right.
but for longer periods as perceived from the external perspective of clock time. So, before you are firmly established in the state of presence, which is to say, before you are fully conscious, you shift back and forth for a while between consciousness and unconsciousness, between the state of presence and the state of mind identification. You lose the now, and you return to it again and again. Eventually, presence becomes your predominant state. For most people, presence is experienced either never at all or only accidentally and briefly on rare occasions without being recognized for what it is. Most humans alternate not between consciousness and unconsciousness, but only between different levels of unconsciousness. Ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. What do you mean by different levels of unconsciousness? As you probably know, in sleep, you constantly move between the phases of dreamless sleep and dream state. Similarly, in wakefulness, most people only shift between ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. What I call ordinary unconsciousness means being identified with your thought process and emotions, your reactions, desires, and aversions. It is most people's normal state. In that state, you are run by a egoic mind, and you are unaware of being. It is a state not of acute pain or unhappiness, but of an almost conscious low level of unease, discontent, boredom, or nervousness. That must be terrible. In that state, you are run by egoic mind, and you are unaware of being. It is a state not of acute pain or unhappiness, but of an almost continuous low level of unease, discontent, boredom, or nervousness, a kind of background static. You may not realize this because it is so much a part of normal living, just as you are not aware of continuous low background noise, such as the hum of an air conditioner, until it stops. When it suddenly does stop, there is a sense of relief. Many people use alcohol, drugs, sex, food, work, television, or even shopping as anesthetics in an unconditional attempt to remove the basic unease. When this happens, an activity that might be very enjoyable is used in moderation because imbued with a compulsive or addictive quality.
That's right.
And all that is ever achieved through it is extremely short-lived symptom relief. When this happens, an activity that might be very enjoyable if used in moderation becomes imbued with a compulsive or addictive quality. The unease of ordinary unconsciousness turns into a pain of deep unconsciousness. a state of more acute and more obvious suffering or unhappiness. When things go wrong, when the ego is threatened or there is a major challenge, threat or loss, or real or imagined, in your life situation,
Right.
or conflict in a relationship, it is an intensified version of ordinary unconsciousness. Different from if not in kind, but in degree. In ordinary consciousness, habitual resistance to or denial of what is creates the unease and discomfort that most people accept as normal living. When this resistance becomes intensified through some challenge or threat to the ego, it brings up intense negativity such as anger, acute fear, aggression, depression, and so on. Deep unconsciousness often means that the pain body has been triggered and that you have become identified with it. Physical violence would be impossible without deep unconsciousness. It can also occur easily whenever and wherever a crowd of people or even an entire nation generates a negative collective energy field. Right? And are you sleeping?
Kind of, yeah.
Meditating? Are you meditating on the great pleasure?
Right.
You're meditating on a great pleasure?
Mm-hmm.
The best indicator of your level of unconsciousness is how you deal with life challenges when they come. Through those challenges,
That's right.
an already unconscious person tends to become more deeply unconscious, and a conscious person's more intensely conscious.
Yeah.
You can use a challenge to awaken you, or you can allow it to pull you into an even deeper